Hi, my name is Amel Amin. You're watching Diaspora News in Brief with CaribDirect.
Modern society is very much dominated by televisual media. So if you're not in televisual media, it's like you almost don't exist.
There was no black people on TV. So we're not actually absorbing anything British, really. It's American stuff that we're absorbing.
We pay our license fee. The BBC owes you product.
Who can I speak to at the BBC? I'm here for 2 more weeks to get that done.
You need to shoot it. Get some of the footballers who are spending 20, 15 grand on white women on booze and champagne and everything, yeah? Real talk, BAME people have been shortchanged on screen and shortchanged off screen. And now is the time for a campaign.
I'd like to welcome all of you here this evening, High Commissioner, for Dominica and other distinguished guests. This is the third and last of the CaribDirect seminar series for 2013, and I'd like to thank you again for making the effort to brave this weather to come out here and share this discussion with us. We've got an interesting lineup. To my extreme right, Mr. Samuel Benter, director, creator, all about the Mackenzies. To Samuel's left, Mr. Akin Salami. He is the CEO of OHTV. And to his left, obviously, is our esteemed moderator, Angela Marr. And to her left is my colleague, friend, and provocateur, Ron Belgrave from Sankofa Televisual. And to his left is none other than Marcus Ryder, who is the BBC Current Affairs and Royal Television Society representative.
When I watched the tribute to Felix Dexter a couple of weeks ago, there was a sense of bitterness and a sense of anger, because this was a guy who absolutely deserved his own television show. You know, we grew up running downstairs watching black people on television. You know, there's a black person on telly, run downstairs, and it's just the news. It's not actually a show. Yeah, and it's crime, thank you. And so, fast forward, we're still running down the stairs. No longer is it Moira Stewart on television. We're looking for that black person on television that represents us. We've gone to the networks and they've said, if you've got gun crime in there, you can do it. If you're degrading yourself, you can do it. But they don't want to see us doing what we are, who we are today.
CaribDirect has sought to highlight the great deficiency in the production of Caribbean-related programming for television. What we should ask ourselves is, why is that so? And what can be done about it? The organization by CaribDirect of this seminar is very timely. The subject is thought-provoking, and I hope that we will all engage in useful discussion, and that at the end of this evening, we would have created a greater awareness, and we will leave here with a plan for a way forward to increase the visibility of the Caribbean on British televisions and screens.
Yes, I remember those days of running down the stairs to watch TV because a black person was on, because it was such a rare thing. But there's also something about why we run downstairs to watch TV. What is the motivation? It's that desire to see ourselves reflected on screen. It's just a fundamental human need. And when that need is not met, what does it mean for us inside as people? But yes, there he is, the man himself, the roots and culture lawyer from the real McCoy. I'm sure we remember that character. And isn't it a real travesty that we have to look back 20 years for the heyday of black television in Britain? Why do we have to reach back so far? Modern society is very much dominated by the media and by televisual media. So if you're not in televisual media, it's like you almost don't exist, and you don't see yourself reflected. And invisibility on screen means, I think, invisibility in society.
One of the things we found out was a big problem in the UK is that it is hard to promote black. Every month we lose money, and we have spent in the region of millions, and we do so every year. And to be on Sky, I will tell you, to be on Sky, you need to spend, don't do anything else, just be on Sky. As in, I have a channel on Sky. The EPG first, that's the number on TV, will cost you 150 grand. And then that's a one-time fee. And then you pay something like £35,000 every month without doing anything. Then you have to go make the content. Then you know you're in trouble. You know, and so this is what we've found out, and there has to be a different way. So I thought the best way forward was, let's create our own yard. You see, we're trying to play in the man's yard. We need to leave that yard and play in a different yard. We own this yard. We determine the rules. Yeah, and that way we can go further. That way you don't have to spend crazy. He said something, if we're one, I'm telling you, the voice we have, by the way, your stats were wrong on the Africans in the UK. Because I know at least another 500,000 that came in without visas.
15.6% of Londoners, right, are black. 69% of the black British population live in London, right? So when you go out of London, you're saying, how come there are no black people in Emmerdale Farm? How come there are no black people in other dramas, right? Sometimes we do get a slightly distorted view as to how many, I mean, don't get me wrong, I come back to London and it's like nourishment. So what are we watching, right? And how much TV do we actually watch? We're watching less television than white people. When it comes to terrestrial television, so that's BBC, that's ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, right? White people are watching roughly 16 hours of terrestrial television a week, right? We're only watching 8.
I'm 27 years old, and as I was growing up, all I ever saw was black American programs. You know, we always see Fresh Prince every day. Some of you may remember Martin and My Wife and Kids. And we had lots of other endless black American programs. And this is the stuff that I was watching that I could relate to, that I enjoyed, because I was seeing a black person. There was no black people on TV. And if I was at school, this is the stuff that we would be talking about. We wouldn't be talking about anything British. And plus, we're listening to American music. So we're not actually absorbing anything British, really. It's American stuff that we're absorbing.
I was a part of the Kid Old franchise, obviously, and I suppose all the derivatives of. The last thing on Channel 4 was, before Top Boy, was a show called Fallout by Roy Williams, which is a collective black story, which I was a part of. And then the next thing was Top Boy. Now, I know all these guys, I know everybody that's in it and all the rest of it. The collective black story is becoming very, very damaging, you know? And I've departed from it, and I'm trying to represent the idea of the departure from that in my own career as an actor first, you know? My ability to say yes and no to things.
I can answer your question, Emil. We went to the West End to get the brothers in the West End. They said put a white guy in there and an Asian guy. You go to television, they say put a white guy and an Asian. Just don't make it all black, and then we'll do it. And that's what happens. That's why it didn't happen. So sometimes when we go with the ideas, they love the ideas, but they say change it. And it's up to you whether you change it. So
is that because we don't have any, is that because we're not turning up with our spending power? What is it?
No, they don't care about your money. They want to know that if it's in the West End, that the mainstream go. They don't care about the black pound. It doesn't mean anything to them. They want to know that the mainstream want it, and that's it.
So my question then is, do we like have a project, right, and make it seem, for example, with Lee Daniels the Butler, you have like, oh, Mariah Carey's in it, and this Lenny Kravitz in it. They pop up, right? They pop up to get the interest. So do we have a project that is mostly telling of the black story, but we make it more multicultural theory to actually push that in? As
stars, I think we need to borrow ourselves. We need to borrow our expertise to network like Vox Africa and OHTV. So if someone like Idris is as big as he is, can borrow himself to a show that I'm making to put on OHTV, that's how it builds. You know, everybody is building because they're borrowing themselves to it. And that's the only way you build power. But let me just ask questions, because I could be here all night. Anybody got a question? Let's go to the lady over there.
You asked the question in terms of how things can move forward. I think there's one word, and it's something I'm exploring myself. It's called crowdfunding, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's where you bring ideas, you pitch directly to the public. We have the skill, we have the product, we've built many things. The MOBO was the MOBO before it is what it is. There's a history of our success that's been assimilated. So we don't not have a track record of success. We just need to put our heads together and to focus on a way of taking something like that forward. It will give us the independence to create what we want, how we want it, when we want it.
Besides the BBC going and writing to them and saying we're disappointed that you're not reaching our demographic, besides getting up and writing an email or doing a letter, I would like from each panel member to answer one thing that each person in this room can do, one different thing that we can do to start making the steps that we are represented as a Caribbean culture in the UK, because this is really criminal.
We really do pay attention to complaints. When I receive a complaint, I can't stand it. It's like a good half hour of my day, right? Just gone. Where I'm having to form a response. It really does my head in, right? Seriously, when you think, oh, it's just thrown in the trash or whatever, it's really not. There's some. I'm an executive producer. I'm overseeing a lot of work, and trust me, I am spending time dealing with the complaints. If we got enough complaints, we would change. We do not receive complaints.
I think with those complaints, really use the power of social network, like at BBC, because then there's no hiding, you know? And I'd say also take time to try and abstain from certain things if you feel like it's not representing you. You know, be the individual that does it, even if the collective doesn't.
It is about not watching certain programs, because if they see the figures go down, then it's less attractive. But it's then again about what you do watch, because they do split between the terrestrial and the digital, and they look at the digital channels. What if everybody started watching OHTV? All of a sudden, the programs there would become a bit more green-lighted. And like Marcus said, that's then an hour of time. Oh my God, what is this? Let's get it. So there's the two sides. It's about what you stop watching, and it's what you start watching. And it's also about supporting the infrastructure we've got there already.
What I say is that there's a sitcom now also on TV, which I think was on a few channels of Vox last year, Meet the Adebanjos. It's made by an African, but she's not an African. She grew up here anyway. Producer. Yeah, I'm trying to say something here, but I needed to say the African part. I'll tell you what I'm saying. I'll tell you, just to answer the question. When you stop seeing it as an African production and put the Caribbean weight behind it, then we will go through as Africans, and then it means your work is easier when you make your own content. We have a saying in Africa, you know, there's coconut, which you also have in the Caribbean, obviously. I have to translate it to English. It says the guy whose head is used to break the coconut doesn't eat in the coconut, if you know what I mean. And so let's go ahead, let's bust our head, but everyone gets to eat the coconut. So support what we do, and we're there to support we support black. That's it. We don't care if it's African or Caribbean. Yep, thank you.
What has worked for me and what I can testify is when it's your intention of something that you really want to do and you get started on it, forget about funding, forget about who's going to help you, forget about all of that. You just make that first step and then you'll start to actually see everything pan out for you. It is that step of faith.
One thing that we could perhaps do, which would really hurt them, how about not pay the license fee? I don't. No, it's. I think BBC should. No, think of it in that. If you stop watching them, you don't pay them, you say why you're not paying them, and they will think about it. It's only black people not paying them.
Whether you pay your license fee or not is obviously something that you and the magistrates can sort out, right? So that's fine. What I think is really important, though, the BBC owes you. You know, we pay our license fee, most of us anyway, right? We pay our license fee. The BBC owes you product, right? The amount that we spend, if we look at regional diversity, and this is obviously something that I can talk about a little bit, you know, the argument is that Scotland pays 8% because 5 million people live in Scotland, pays 8% of the license fee. 8% of the license fee spend is spent in Scotland, right? With regards to Wales, right, not quite proportionate, but getting up there. So roughly 4% of the license fee is spent in Wales. Northern Ireland, roughly 2%. I dread to think, and I don't have the figures quite obviously because no one wants to make the figures, as to how much of the license fee is actually spent on black production companies and production companies which are run by black executives and pay for black production staff.
I went to the Diversify conference and I discovered that in the 14 years that the Cultural Diversity Network has been going, BAME representation in the creative industries is at its lowest level ever, 5.4%. And in London is the least representative region. There's 28.8% BAME people in employment in the workforce, but only 8.9% in the creative industries. So then, at Diversify, I decided I'd do something I'm good at, which is set up a campaign. Now, I'm not going to lead it, and I've given myself a title, and the title is Facilitator, because I'm going to facilitate the campaign, I've got the card here, the campaign for broadcasting equality. And it's going to be aimed at the BBC, because BAME people have been shortchanged on screen and shortchanged off screen. And now is the time for a campaign. So I got a lawyer drawing up business for a charity. I got a member of the House of Lords going to be a trustee. I'm going to get somebody else. And then I'm going to talk to a lot of people. Because an old white man can't lead this campaign, but I can be a facilitator, and I will.
Well done, sir.
I have a product that will instill confidence, right? A beautiful story about family, about life, the British wonder years, right? That will bring us back. Who can I speak to at the BBC? I'm here for 2 more weeks before I go back to the States and shoot a movie. Who can I speak to get that done? Like me and you, me and Simon roll up there. It's a fantastic product. I'm a person that has achieved. Who the hell can I speak to? Because I agree. People are doing things on different levels, but I've given a lot of my life to the BBC. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? I've given a lot of my life as an actor to it. I've given a lot of my life to the BBC and all of that, and we're creating our channels. We're doing all of that, but we also haven't got the infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure, the financial means, right, to actually create a show like that. And it being on the BBC, which has been around for 100 years, yes, we must build other stuff, but the establishment that is here, we must also exist within that establishment that is present.
I understand and I accept that. All I was saying was that if we're talking about our BBC licence and we are saying that they still don't want us, Marcus, you said they owe it to us. I don't know why they don't know they owe it to us. We know they owe it to us. Why we still feel that we have to go there and keep building. Look, and I understand that we have entitlement to it, but at the same time, why do we always feel that that's the only option?
There's no me and we feeling anything. Right? As an independent artist, I'm putting together money for movies, right? Right? This particular show, right, will instill confidence and warmth and love into communities as a whole, universally. But we'll be told from the British black perspective.
Yeah.
It must go on a terrestrial TV channel or one of the main channels. Yes, I have product for OTV. Yes, I have a product for Mean Dream Entertainment. Yes, we have product for all those stuff. We're building that stuff.
But this one you want for the
But this particular show, and Samuel's show, or whoever, if you feel convicted in it, it must be there, because we must show, like The Butler showed, right? This is a story about black people and the trajectory of this black man, but it's a universal story about family.
Yeah.
Right? And that is what it is. And that will break down the barriers. And last point, Butler made $130 million in America, right? It was an independently financed film. It's not, their problems are not, in America, it's not like solved or anything. There's just more of them, right? So, they put together $30 million, 40 different producers. All the studios said no, yeah? It made $130 million. It making $130 million means that producer, that director, now, the money talks. Do you get what I'm saying? And this particular show, right, I'll do my online stuff and I'll make other films and all the rest, but this particular show, and I'm sure other people feel as convicted about me about their stuff, but this particular show will instill, this is what it's about today. How do we instill confidence? But we need a product as well. Absolutely. This is the particular product that will instill the confidence back into our community, the Caribbean sector, but will speak to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go to the audience.
What are we doing beyond the anger and the frustration to bring the whole thing together so it's meaningful? We need to move beyond being the victim, and we have to see ourselves as victors and march into it.
We need strategy through all different parts. And the same thing what you're saying, my brother, you need to shoot it. You either get a man like Idris, get some of the footballers who are spending 20, 15 grand a week on white women on booze and champagne and everything, yeah? Real talk. We need to shame some of them man there and say, hey, what, you need to take some of your little weekend white girl change money and put it into projects, yeah? And that's what we need to do. So me as a comedian, I will say it. I don't have no, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not scared to say it, but what we need all of us to be doing it.
What I see as the answer, and it's worked in a way for, he mentioned that he's going to be a facilitator for something. What should be happening in this room is somebody should be saying, I want to be the face for it. I think, Angie, you're big in England. You're big in London, at least. You're big in the black community. Emil, we respect you, man. Not a lot of people have achieved what you've done. You've done great. Now the problem is you're going to run off to, and I don't mean run off in a bad way, but you're going to go off to LA. Yeah, I know what you mean. But you're going to go off to LA. You have to put your name to something in England, like, this is my face. I've done The Butler. I've hung out with the biggest of the best. But the BBC, you're messing up in England. You have to allow us to use your name to push something in England. Angie, the same. Guess what? This is Choice FM all over again.
I'm very passionate about everyone coming through, but on my website, I have an ebook that everyone can download for free, which explains my whole journey, including meetings, how people can get started on doing some sort of web series and stuff like that.
I'm here with the fabulous Portia Freno. So, Portia, how did you find it?
I mean, it was a great seminar. It was very informative. Yeah, it gives you that adrenaline rush and that excitement because you know that people they're hungry and passionate for this change. It just has to happen now, you know. It gets you a bit irritated and frustrated at the same time. So.
And what's some of the frustrations that you feel is happening in the media at the moment?
How black people are portrayed. I think we can only blame people like BBC and Channel 4, etc. so much. Yeah, they're not ever really going to show us in the light that we want to be seen. So that's why we have to kind of stop turning to them for the answers and look at ourselves. It's our mentality. We complain, but we watch EastEnders more than our white counterparts. But we're not being portrayed correctly on EastEnders, yet we watch those kind of programs. What does that say about us? We endorse the things that we complain about, and then according to BBC statistics, we don't even complain enough anyway.
For me, I see where tonight I saw where African TV was maybe a couple of years ago. So we haven't gone that far, we're not that far in front. But I think the Caribbeans just need to come together and do one thing, but do it very well. and it will make a big change. And I want to be a part of that also, because I don't see African or Caribbean, I see black. Yeah, or to be honest, I see brown. And I think that's what needs to happen. We need to start acting as one, and we will have a bigger voice.
It's been a great event, very passionate, and I think we've made a lot of good mental progress. The point is now is to be active in that. What's the next step collectively? What's the next step for us to actually take and push forward? For us to have, like, you know, more of a to have these ideas come into existence that we want. You know, we're talking about the collective black story being told in a more in varied lights. We're talking about people behind the scenes, getting behind stories from Caribbean backgrounds. So that's what I really got from the event, and I hope I've made some good contacts, and I want to be able to contribute to a change and a solution in that respect.